Hello and welcome to the third breakout session in TBO Anniversary 2021. If you're just joining in, please do well to mute your mic. If you can hear me, please, can you signify in the chat box? My name is Odebumi Oluwapolumi, and I'm the moderator for this panelist session, the dynamics of self, soul, and hello, can you hear me? My name is Odebumi Oluwapolumi. I am the moderator for this panelist session, The Dynamics of Self, Soul, and Heart in Poetry. Welcome once again. Hello. Hello. Once again, I say welcome to this particular panelist session.
Thank you.
Okay. As I said earlier, my name is Odebumi Oluwapolumi for those who are just joining us, and I'm the moderator for this panelist session, The Dynamics of Self, Soul, and Art in Poetry. So I will go straight up into the introduction of our panelists and our host. So starting with the host, Adedayo Agaro is the third place winner of the Frontier Industry Prize 2020. His chapbook, Origin of Names, was selected by Chris Abani and Kwame Dawes for New Generation African Poetry Book Fund 2020. He's the author of African chapbooks For Boys Who Went and The Arrival of Rain and The Origin of Name. One of our panelists, Samuel, is an award-winning senior communication specialist for TBWA Concepts, a top multinational advertising agency. He's a record holder for multiple and consecutive wins at War of Words, Nigeria's foremost poetry slam. Winner of Lacosere's We Move 2020 his innovative 2021 virtual concert, Love and Heartbreak in Lagos, was received with universal acclaim. Enekere Kwaku is a poet from Gonaswa in the Bono region of Ghana, is the author of Revolution of the Scavengers. Lisa Charity Nabuchabo is a passionate and hardworking lover of the arts. She's a poet and filmmaker, content creator, and professional screenwriter in training. Welcome once again. I'll hand it over now to our host, Adedayo Agaro. Thank you very much, sir.
Hi, guys. I guess we can unmute ourselves now. Lisa, Samuel, and I'm excited to be here with you guys. I mean, look at you guys, amazing guys. I'm excited to to be here with you, navigating this conversation. Are you guys there? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
I hear you.
Lisa, are you there?
I can hear you. I'm here.
Wayne Samuel. Wayne Samuel, I've heard so much about you, and then I'm very glad that I'm finally meeting you. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to like at some point switch on your camera so that I can see you. I've also seen every of your videos that you have on YouTube. I heard so much about how you trashed my friends at the War of Words because of course it's supposed to be war, so there was a lot of trashing. I am honored to have this conversation with you. Ene is my friend. I'm honored to. I mean, I feel like I know a number of things about him, and I'm excited that we are finally going to like. I'm finally going to like get answers to a few of my other questions, and then of course, there's Lisa, who is a literary giant and an amazing folk who writes beautiful writings, beautiful poetry. The theme for our conversation today is the dynamics of self, soul, and art and poetry. I've always thought that, okay, so one of my friends mentioned something that poetry is for the wise, it's for people who can think deep, it's for people, so it's not for the layman, and that is what they've made us believe since time immemorial. It was seeming as though you have to be blessed by God to be a poet. But we are all blessed by God because we have ourselves, we have our soul, we have our body. And I feel like these are the compartments of art generally, or the compartments of every other talent that we have. So I will starting with Wayne Samuel. Samuel, have you thought about it? Have you given it a thought? What do you think about um, this topic? What do you think that the TVO is trying to get from this conversation as regards your poetry and in respect to the dynamics of self, soul, and art?
Thank you, Adidayo. So I think it's I think it's a crucial subject because particularly because I feel like a lot of people, we all grew up consuming art, and then the moment you decide to start creating art, it's very easy to express yourself based on what you consumed, right? It's very easy to create the art that you consume, right? And what happens is that we see a lot of people who are supposed to like chart new courses. We see a lot of people that are supposed to blaze a trail, because the truth is there's only one you, right? And so your art should be one of a kind in the way that you're one of a kind, in the way that your fingerprints and your pupils and your DNA is one of a kind. Your art should be like that. But because we all grew up first consuming art before we start creating art, it's very easy to lose yourself, to lose your soul, and to lose all of the unique things about what can make unique characteristics of what can make your art stand out, right? And so, yeah, I think it's a very important topic. And I think what we're trying to achieve here is to show people how to be able to distill yourself, distill your soul, distill your art, distill everything about you to be able to, arrive at that point of self-realization, which allows you to create art that is truly unique to you.
Thank you very much. I heard a few things. You said that expression is based on your consumption, and I think that is a smart way to say it. Although I have my reservations, of course, and I'm gonna like come through later. But um, thank you very much for your insights. I'll move on to Lisa now. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
Hi. So yes, Lisa.
Okay.
How is Uganda today?
It's okay. It's pretty peaceful for now, but we're still in the lockdown. Yeah,
Okay.
we have a few days left. Yeah.
Okay. So considering the fact that you are Ugandan and then
Yes.
it's a lockdown, considering the
Mm.
fact that you are female in a world where there's patriarchy and gender-based abuse, considering the fact that um, you've had history of stuff that have centered around your writings. You've had yourself believing in God or not. You've had yourself um, thinking about your parents, thinking about origin. You've had yourself thinking about your country. What would you think? What would you think about the entire concept of poetry and its dynamics in respect to yourself, your soul, and of course the heart?
I would most definitely, explore the dynamics of soul and self in poetry, considering about four aspects, exploring self-identity, self-image, social identity, which is a small portion of, an individual self-concept derived from perceived membership of a relevant social group, be it nationality, be it gender, be it class. So that all these aspects intersect and how we examine the self and the soul in poetry and anywhere else, to say. And all this is driven by self-awareness. And I think poetry has that effect, like it helps us slow our world down and streamline all our thoughts to be able to objectively bring awareness to what we are thinking or feeling in terms of how we examine the self, yeah? And it has a lot to do with the experiences that we pick up in our society, in the way we interact with certain things that we define as our characteristics, yeah? So to me, that those are the major aspects that I examine if we are looking at the dynamics of soul, self, and art in poetry. Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, I said a lot. I said a lot. Lisa, I was saying that self-identity, social identity, gender, self-awareness, you mentioned those, and then you mentioned a key thing, which I'm gonna like hold on to for a while. You said that poetry helps us slow our words down. I feel
Yeah.
like my word is moving very fast. I feel like a lot is happening, but
Yeah.
and then I'm beginning to wonder how poetry helps you slow your world. Is it through self-reflection or or documentary of events? But I'm going to come to that. I'm going to come to that. Before now, I'm going to go to Ene. Hi Ene, are you there?
All right.
Hey, bro, I'm good. I'm here.
How's Ghana today?
We are not dead yet. I mean,
Uh,
as usual.
so, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to
Yeah,
put it.
they haven't
I
killed
mean,
all of us. We are
I mean,
trying.
I feel like it's not entirely a good way to put it. It's a terrible way to put it. So considering
But
that you're not dead yet, you have yourself,
yes, I have
right?
myself.
And considering that you are still here, would
Mhm.
you say that the country has broken your soul?
Well, it is trying. I mean, every day it is trying, but we are also finding new ways of navigating that kind of trial. And then we need to survive, we need to live. So even though it's like somebody is putting a gun on your head, but you're also trying to take the gun from the person's hands, or you're trying to run away. So it's all of that.
Okay.
We are navigating all of those things
So
every day.
so in all of these things, how does poetry come in? You look
I
beautiful,
mean,
by the way.
oh, thank you. you know, um, you know, for instance, of the protests that we are experiencing in the country right now,
Right.
the question that I will ask myself is that as a poet, as a human being, how do I join in? how do I support my brothers or my sisters who are being oppressed? And then that is how my poetry comes in. And then on the other hand, there is this aspect of the human where we are looking for communion, we are looking for communities. So the writing serves as a way of communing with other people. And that is some kind of a strength that, sometimes you can rely on when, things are going terrible like we're experiencing right now. So, it moves on and on and on and on. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. So Ghana has not entirely broken your soul, but it's
Not yet.
trying.
Yes.
It's trying. It's funny because, well, not funny. Funny is just a placeholder, but
Yeah.
it's crazy because in Washan Shah's poem, I can't remember the actual line, but she mentioned something about turning the atlas and seeing where it does not burn. It burns everywhere. So
Okay.
the same way it burns in Nigeria with,
Mm.
of course, politically, um, through oppression. The Nigerian government is oppressing every inch of the country, every
Mhm.
inch of the country. Show me where in Nigeria is not um, is not being a disaster right now, and I'm going to tell you that it's a lie. The north, the south, the west, and then of course the same way we have the Bobby Wine issue. We have
Uganda.
in Uganda, we have the Museveni, we have, and then it's the same way we have the oppression that is currently, and then the fixed the nation that is currently going on in Ghana. And
Mhm.
so that brings me to my first question back, Wayne Samuel. It brings me back to you that I've sort of like consumed, I feel like I've consumed a few of your works, and I see that you write a lot about love, about your personal relationships with people. And I'm sure that I'm going to come later to what that means to you. But I'm going to ask now that is it is that by chance you trying to run away from discussing political issues? But of course, I knew that there are political undertones in your works. Like the one I read, the one I saw, I listened to where you were talking about the fact that the lady is a sex worker. What and how you juxtapose that with love and acceptance and commitment. Is that you trying not to write political works? Or why do you not write political works, to put it direct?
So it's interesting you should say that because up until this year, up until like late last year, up until this year, I've actually done a couple of political stuff recently, and it was all mostly inspired by the NSARS movement, right? The moment NSARS, because I was out there, I was out in the streets, it was something that really resonated with me. And the only reason why I wrote all those pieces, I wrote something for Democracy Day, I wrote like 3 or 4 for NSARS and things like that. And the only reason why I did that is because for once I felt like it was crucial. For once I felt like it was actually going to do something, right? I felt like it was actually going to have impact. So my criticism of writing political poems on my own personal refrain from writing political poems is I feel like we're not actually doing anything, right? So when I look at Nigeria, I mean, just using my own office where I work as a small scale replica of what Nigeria is, what I see is you see so many people, they are passionate, they have all this information, they have all these insights about what can make Nigeria better, and they're constantly going back and forth and you're talking about it. And it just makes me really jaded because I'm like, we just keep talking about the same old thing over and over and over again, but we're not actually doing anything. So the only reason why I was able to write, or I've been inspired to write ever since NSARS, is because I feel like we're backing up the talk. It's not just talk and everything. So when I see poets writing about politics and everybody loves it and things like that, it just feels very irrelevant to me. It feels like it doesn't really have the impact. I mean, look at Wole Soyinka. Wole Soyinka wrote a lot about politics, but then he wasn't just writing. He was in the streets. He was active. He was active. He was doing something about it. He was doing something physical about it. The same thing with Bob Marley. Any creator that truly has an impact as far as politics goes, they don't just create art about it. They're actually there in the trenches getting things done, right? And so that has been the reason why. Before I even wrote anything, I was a part of like the first wave of protests in Nigeria, and
Okay.
yeah, so I really think that we do not. It's not enough to just create and keep adding more noise to the babble of voices that are already out there. You have to be professional. Yeah.
This is interesting. No, don't mute your mic. I feel like Ene has something to say about that. I feel like Lisat is itching to say something. I mean, come on, you guys should join in.
Well, I mean, I believe that he has a point about, I mean, it's not just about the words. Sometimes you have to also move out there. I mean, look at during the NSAS protest, something that came up was Burna Boy. I mean, Burna Boy ranting on Twitter and not being out there. You understand? And a lot of people had issues with it. You get it? But even around that time, we knew that Burna Boy was sending funds to support people that were, I mean, that had been abused during the process, the feeding, and a lot like hospital bills, legal bills, all of that. You understand? But we expected more from Burna Boy.
Okay.
And so on that level,
I like the fact that you used "we expected more from Burna Boy" because
yes,
you seem so Nigerian. But thank you. So continue.
So I mean, I agree on that level with Wayne, but the other
However,
side of the whole thing is that I believe that it's just like the way people saying, "Oh, you cannot be on Twitter and then be talking blah blah blah. It doesn't do anything." But yo, if it didn't do anything, why did our government ban Twitter? I mean, if you feel like Twitter can't do anything, it's not a platform for protest, then why is the government trying so hard that we can't talk
to
on
silence?
Twitter?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So it tells you that the words can do something, and then being on the field can do something else. So they all have a part to play. We can't say that this is the only way or that is the only way. They both can play a part, and then we can move from there. I mean, in Ghana too, I mean, this whole thing is going on. They will tell you that their Twitter can do anything and go out there and protest. Okay. But we tried. We actually did an online protest with the Fix the Country. If you check the Fix the Country hashtag, it was an online protest because they had placed a ban on physical protesting. So you can't go out there and protest. But we did it on Twitter, on social media, and it worked. Because if you think it didn't work, the information minister was out there giving.
Oops. We lost you, Ene. This is so interesting.
Press statements and.
Okay. Yeah, you're back. Yes.
Yeah, good. So the information minister was out there giving press statements and things like that. So why do you think it didn't work? It worked. It touched them. They felt we could do something, even though they were preventing us from doing what we were supposed to do. Okay. So it works. So for me, I mean, both angles, I mean, we need to consider the two. It shouldn't be just physical protest.
Lisa, do you want to say something?
Yes, please. Yes,
right.
I do. I actually do. And I think I'm more or less I'm more or less agreeing with what Hene is saying. I partly agree with Wayne when he says things to do with we need to be active not only in our words and also our actions as well, which is true, but I don't agree with, and more or less saying that the art, of which I believe that art is different from noise. Noise is not necessarily irrelevant as well, because sometimes it's what creates awareness on like a global scale, yeah? But I will give you an example. In Uganda, the National Theatre is where we normally have poetry and theatre arts and spoken word. And before COVID hit, I was always there. But right next to the National Theatre, across the road is the Parliament building. Yes. And I can tell you that there are a few poets that deliberately write, mainly write political poems to do with political activism that have been banned from performing at the National Theatre. And I think that's a grave injustice, but it tells you how powerful the impact of creating art that, creates awareness about politics and the state of our country is. By the time they're scared of, and they're trying to make sure you don't go out there and empower people, because that's the quality of art. It's empowering, it's educating, every single action, every single motivation starts in the mind. It's birthed in the mind. And that's what poetry and every single art form does. It starts by igniting that fire in the mind. And then that's when people are motivated to take all that into the physical, into other forms of, resistance, into other forms of appealing to the people that need to do something about what's happening. Yes. So I definitely think it has a big part to play. I think it's the origin, it's the beginning of everything.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. I feel like, to be honest, I feel like we can always, the art might not be enough, but the art is very substantial. We cannot take away art from any movement. You remember how the first Black poets were writing poetry about the slave trade, and of course, yes, a closer example is Leopold Senghor, how he did the works that he did with negritude, and how it influenced that singular body of work influenced the movement against Black colonialism in Senegal and several other places. So technically, I feel like while it is important to do stuff, to do the work, the art is also the work. There are people who cannot entirely just do more than the art. There are some who are charismatic enough to lead the struggle. There are people who can do both. I feel like there are people who can do both. So moving on, Lisa, I want to ask you, though.
Yes, please.
I want to ask you. In regards to soul, what do you think about your soul? What embodies your soul, and how do you translate that in your writings? Sorry, thank you very much, Samuel. I really love your points. I must say, thank you. So Lisa, yes.
I agree with everything.
What did you say?
I said I agree somewhat with their points as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad. We can actually disagree, but we can't break bottles. So, okay. So I was asking about your soul. What embodies it? How do you teach your poetry from the soul seat? Do you have particular events that have influenced your poetry and they have probably enlightened your soul or wrecked it? Do you feel like you have a memory that you embody? Come on, come be vulnerable.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think the soul, the psyche, is the mental ability of any living being to reason, form character, to draw thoughts from our consciousness. Yes. And for me, how I embody that in my poetry is, okay, for me, poetry has always been something that I consider conscious, deliberate, and active dreaming. Yes. And it has a lot to do with imagination. It has a lot to do with channeling of emotion. It has a lot to do with creating situations where I empathize with a lot of things around me. And for me, that has always been like the starting point with understanding my soul. Yeah, it's about connecting to all these different things within myself and outside myself. Yeah. And
Okay.
empathy has always been the first thing that I begin with. And even when it comes to political issues, social issues, whether it's a friend, whether it's family, whether it's understanding what grief is like for me, for other people, yeah, it has always been about that. It has been about trying to find a way to step out of, the way the world makes us operate in this mechanical.
Lisa, are you
Yeah.
going to like contest for president sometime, because you seem like you're set to go? I'm sorry to cut you short. I got a notification that we have about 2 minutes to go, so I'm going to throw these last questions to
Yeah.
this last question to Ene. So Ene,
Sure thing.
I'm very sorry. I think that we are fighting against time as always. So Ene, I'm going to like
It's
ask
all
you
right. It's okay.
this brief question. I
Okay.
know that you write a lot about your country, and I know that you also, I mean, it seems as though you shape shift between writing about your country in your poetry and then writing about love and heartbreak and art wreck and a whole lot of other wreckages in your nonfiction. But I would ask this: how do you shape shift? How do you balance everything that you've gone through, your memory? I mean, in a very short form, how do you do these things? How do you strike the balance between what you've gone through and how you project these things that you've gone through in your poetry now?
Okay, so let me start by briefly talking about this animation titled Soul. I don't know if any of us have watched that. Okay, so there is this animation, then it's titled Soul, and it's about a guy who is a musician, and he was also a teacher, and all that he has wanted to be was be a musician.
I've seen it. Yes,
You've seen
sir.
it. Good, good, good.
Yes, sir.
But also, I mean, the way the world is, you cannot just be there and say, I want to be a
Right.
musician. I mean, you're not getting what you're supposed to get, but you still want to be there.
And
And
died.
one thing that I think I took out of the whole thing was that when that guy died, his soul was still conscious about the life that he wanted to live. And for me, that is like some kind of a hybrid identity where we live in different realms with the same. We have our bodies, we have our souls, but the soul can live in a different identity, a different realm, yet still conscious of what the body wants. And that's the kind of hybrid identity that I come to the page with. So when I'm writing about nonfiction or I'm writing poetry, I still understand that what can work in nonfiction can also work in poetry. And what I may see as something that may be private may also be something that could cover like the country. It's something that I can also see working around in the country. For instance, I think my first nonfiction that Agbo published, it was both about a heartbreak and also it was about my country as well. So I think
Because
the
everywhere you
work,
turn to, you are being heartbroken.
yes,
What is the health of your heart right now?
yeah, that's what's going on right now in my art. Yeah.
Okay. I'm very sorry to cut it short. Our moderator notified me that we have about 2 minutes, and I'm sure we've spent the 2 minutes. But before they cut us short, I am going to like ask Wayne a very simple question. Why did you choose poetry as your means of expression? Is it because you are eloquent, or because you feel like you can play with words? I saw you play with words in your videos a lot, and each time I just know that this guy is a bad guy. But I really want to know why you choose poetry. Why not rap? Why not music? Why poetry?
So it's the cliche story of I didn't choose poetry. Poetry chose
Poetry
me,
chose
right?
me.
So I actually wanted to do. I've always been interested in art. So I don't think of myself as a poet, for instance. I think of myself as an artist, right? And that's because I'm very in love with art. I love art in all its forms, right? If I could draw tomorrow, I would probably draw. If I can dance, I used to dance. So I've gone through the phase where I was writing page poetry. I've gone through the phase where I was rapping. I've gone through the phase where I was making music. But poetry, to me, it found me at a point in time where I was constrained, right? I was finding myself. That's spoken word poetry now, not page
Okay.
poetry. Spoken word poetry found me at a time when I was very constrained. I didn't know who I was. I was trying to find myself in the world. I was in school. And yeah, it was a way for me to just express that moment or that thought or that subject and that perspective in a very linear, very straightforward way. It was a way for me to have conversations almost with myself, right? It was a way for me to have conversations with myself and just include other people. But really, it was just a conversation that I was having with myself. And so poetry chose me because it knew that if I was rapping, I would probably always be thinking about, oh, what's the next person doing? What are all these other people doing? How am I going to get people to like my poetry and things like that? But with spoken word poetry, it's really always about what's going on inside and that coming out, right? It's always about that, no matter what happens in the world. It's always about how
Okay.
whatever is happening in the world, the
I
conversations I'm having about it. Yeah.
thank you, Samuel. Thank you very much. I have just one last question for um for both Lisa and Ene. Do you guys think poetry enhances healing? No, you should not laugh.
Yes, most definitely. I would definitely think that's in
Please, I mean, if you think so, you should explain why you think so.
I think so because we for quite a number of reasons actually, we are able to emotionally express, emotionally release whatever we have inside. Yes. We are also able to, with the kind of self-awareness that poetry demands of us, yeah, we are able to understand why we act a certain way, why we feel this way towards this and that, yeah. And it helps us re-examine our traumas and the emotions that surround them, the way we think about things, the way it patterns our behavior, yeah. And for me, really, that's what poetry does in the healing aspects, arts in general. Not only are we able to do that for ourselves, we're also able to see how other people have been able to do it. Yeah. Because
Okay.
we hear music, we hear all these expressions, and yeah, you relate to that. You're like, that's something I've experienced as well. Yeah.
Okay. I wrote in um sorry, I'm trying to get what it was the moderator sent me. Okay. I don't understand that actually. Get moderator. I don't. Ene, please can you answer that? I feel like I want to say something to what Lisa said, but our time is really
Oh, you can say it. You can say it.
no,
I
no,
mean,
no, no. Ene, come on, you're not running from this.
okay, I do. I actually do believe that there is healing in art, in poetry, music. I mean,
Why?
visual art, all
Oh,
of that.
I am particular about poetry now.
Poetry, yes, I do believe.
Yes.
And it's funny because that's like my research area. That's like my research interest. Although they are trying to change me, but I mean that's like my area. And in my undergraduate study, that was what I did for my final year project. I looked at the role of the creative arts in health promotion. And so after everything, it just confirmed what I had been thinking, that yes, there is healing in art and poetry. So for instance, the writing of poetry sometimes helps us to navigate the traumas and kind of like get a deeper understanding of what is going on in our personal lives or even in the outer world. You understand? And that helps with the healing process. Sometimes it helps us to come to terms with what we are going through. Okay, because that is where we get to understand it even more. And sometimes reading other people's works also give us the assurance that, okay, I am not alone on this path. And that is some kind of assurance, which I think it helps with the healing process. Yeah. So I agree with Lisa.
Okay, so I actually really believe that that well, you poets give people your grief. You write you write so much grief, and then I mean you give it to people to read. So I think the moderator is going to take over from here now. Okay, sorry, I'm supposed to like ask the questions from the audience. I'm trying to look for it. Okay, so we have one question. I'd like to ask about consistency. How are you guys able to be consistent with your art? Hi, hello, everyone. Samuel, do you want us to start with you?
So I don't know about you, but if I don't create for a long period of time, I'll probably kill myself, honestly, because it's the only thing. It's the it's like it's like your fountain of life. It's what gives you energy. It's what gives you joy. It's the only time when you're truly and genuinely happy, right? So it's not consistency to me. It's not a matter of and this is why I say when you're creating, not particularly for buzz or for fanfare, but you're creating because you're feeling such powerful emotions and you need to express them, right? So you're not consistent because, oh, people need to hear from me and blah blah. You're consistent because it's about survival, right? And if you need to survive, if you hold your breath for too long, you're going to breathe inevitably. You're going to look for air, you're going to look for oxygen, you're going to look for water, you're going to look for food, you're going to look for shelter. And that is the way that you create consistently when it becomes as as elemental to your existence as all those other things.
Okay, Ene, what do you think?
You know, Wayne's answer can easily answer the healing question.
Yeah.
Easily. I mean, so you just like killed two birds with one stone. And yeah, I agree with him. I mean, when it comes to the writing, sometimes it's because you are trying to live. So that will also push you. The way we consistently, as he said, drink water, the way we consistently try to breathe. So good, like the way the host is currently drinking his water. So that is what we are doing. We are trying to live, and you can't leave it to chance. So you have to try. And also sometimes I feel like the situations around you will push you to be consistent, even if you don't want to be. I mean, you can be in Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda, Africa, and then be a writer, and then you will not be consistent. You will be, your government
So
will give
so I'm
you
sort of
really
like
consistent.
I'm free from consistency now.
Oh yes, you're free from consistency.
Oh my god.
I saw that
I
tweet. They're like, oh, the good thing about this whole thing is that now you don't need a VPN to tweet. And I was like, yo, yes, that consistency. Yeah.
because of our time, Lisa, how do you stay consistent?
I totally agree with what both Henny and Wen have said, because that's also something that's real for me. But I would like to add two things. To remain consistent, get rid of perfectionism. Yes. And if you're to write from a place of it being a part of you, a part of your human experience, like an aid to your human experience, you're not going to place limits and ratings onto what you write, because simply today this is what I was able to do. Yes. And for poets who have been in competitions, for poets who have been in performance, we are always under pressure to put our best work forward. And we tend to bring that kind of perfectionism into the process of creating, which is very bad and very dangerous because it brings anxiety and it's not a good thing. So release, let yourself write. It doesn't matter if you think it's so bad or it's so good, write every day. Doesn't matter. Make sure you write.
Lisa,
Yeah?
you have to contest for president. Come on, come on. You have to.
I'll think about it. I'll think about it.
Maybe you start with your district. Maybe you start with your. I don't know. You're so political. My God, you're so. You're just out there.
I am. Yeah.
Interestingly, I do not. I think that consistency is how you pace yourself. I do not think that you have to write all the time to stay consistent. I feel like consistency is a state of mind, knowing that this is what I do, irrespective of irrespective of the fact that I currently write or not. Because writing takes a whole lot of things from us. It takes time, it takes emotions, it takes life, it takes people, it takes. So at some point, to be honest, this year I think I've not written. I used to write a lot of poems, but this year I've been really whether too hard on myself, whether I was too hard on myself last year or not. I was expecting so much last year into this year, so this year I've not been creating, but I'm still consistent. I feel like I still am, because I still center myself around writing. I still center myself around people that write. I read poems. The fact that I'm not entirely writing does not mean that I am off track. No, it's just okay. So sorry to use this example. The fact that you apologies to people who do not believe in Christ. The fact that you commit a sin does not chase you away from being born again. Now, according to the Bible. So technically, yes. So consistency is, for me, a state of mind, a place of identity too, where you can recognize that, although I am not writing. Of course, everything that you guys have said is true. But although I am not writing now, I still identify with the fact that I am a poet. I still identify with the fact that I'm an artist. I have my time. So I think with these few points of mine, the TVO moderator is all in my direct message. You guys have done so much. Thank you very much for this conversation. I think she's going to in a world where there is no TVO and other platforms like this. There's no platform like this. There's TV and other platforms like this. I do not think that this kind of conversation can happen, connecting worlds together. We have a Nigerian, we have a Ghanaian, we have an Ugandan who is actually very beautiful. Are you single? I think that I think that it's just important, and TV is doing amazing work. So thank you very much. I think the moderator is going to take over from here now.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Dayo. I really, really enjoyed this session. It was really impactful and insightful. Right now, I even feel like as though I want to become a poet.
You want to become a poet? Would have to ordain you. Would have to send it to
Samuel. I mean, there is a lot of hunger in poetry, so yeah.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so very much. Okay. Thank you so very much, Lisa Charity. Thank you so very much, Will Samuel. Thank you so very much, Enekere. I really, really, really enjoyed this session. And thank you so much, I think Liv also. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. See you again.
Thank you too.
Later.
It was nice being
Hello,
a part.
Lisa.
Thank you. Thank
Hi,
you. Thank you.
Samuel.
Hey.
Thank you.
Yo, brother. All the best.
Bye.
Oh.
All
Talk
right.
to you soon. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.